to go. Thanks, Guido. 51,479 tests. That's an entire Suncorp stadium full of Queensland spirit. And if we're going to get out of lockdown, that gives everybody the best chance to know how far the virus has spread, where it is in the community, and the fact that Queenslanders have rallied like that is nothing short of exceptional. I note that there's currently some uncertainty in the far north, and before I comment on testing in Cairns, I want to make the point that Cairns is a city that has done it really, really tough, and by virtue of the fact that international tourism hasn't been able to get there and they rely heavily on it, but also every time there's a lockdown anywhere in the nation, Cairns feels it as much as anyone. And right now this is a body blow, and I have spoken with operators this morning in tourism who don't know whether or not they can pay wages this week, and this isn't going to help. So I say to the government, do everything you can to make sure that every person in the far north who wants to get a test can get a test. Let's not wait for the big lines, let's not wait for the anger to start rolling out more testing stations. Please mobilise as quickly as you can. Give every opportunity to get anyone who needs a test to get one, and get one in a timely manner. I want to talk about the business support package. When I stood here yesterday, I made the point that on our calculations, only 1 in 9 businesses would be eligible to get the support if the fund was capped at $260 million. Today, the Chamber of Commerce have revealed that 2/3 of businesses aren't even eligible. So I say to the state government, please go back to the drawing board and start again on a package. All of this work should have been done already, but in the spirit of positivity, I'm looking to the future, and what I want to see is a commitment that the scheme can be done on a sliding scale to give different businesses the opportunity to tap into a different amount of money for their different circumstances to get them over the line. I don't believe it's acceptable that a sole trader isn't eligible for some form of financial assistance. They are doing it tough, and they're part of the engine room of the economy. I don't believe it's acceptable that a business that might need a little more than $5,000 to sustain themselves and get over the line shouldn't be eligible to tap into a little bit more money if it's the difference between them keeping staff in a job and not. But I absolutely don't believe it's acceptable that we have to wait a fortnight before applications can even open. This work should have been done, and now is the time to give businesses the certainty that they know that the government isn't going to let them go down the gurgler at such an important time. I want to comment about the definition of essential workers and which businesses should and shouldn't be open. And I acknowledge the uncertainty, and I also acknowledge the comments from the Chief Health Officer about the need for the individual to also take responsibility. And the individual does have to ask themselves the question whether or not they have to leave home, absolutely. But the government also needs to provide some certainty, and that stops with the Minister and the Deputy Premier to be a hell of a lot clearer on what an essential worker is and what an essential business is. I acknowledge there will always be a grey area, but when you don't try and spell out a little bit of black and white, it leads to red-hot anger. And that's what we're feeling at the moment in the community. And if it takes a slightly longer press conference here for the government to go through and explain a few things and provide a little bit more certainty, that will help along the journey. And I might hand over to Ros now.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to again thank the over 51,000 Queenslanders who went out yesterday and got tested. Keep up the good work. The more people that we get tested, hopefully the sooner this lockdown will be over. Just wanted to talk about the supply. I heard the Health Minister this morning mention about wanting vaccines trucked in from the federal government. The fact of the matter is that in June this year, the Health Minister knocked back 100,000 doses a week from the federal government, and in July they were offered 25,000 doses a week of AstraZeneca. It is hypocritical to try and blame the supply issue right now when all Queenslanders want to do is get themselves vaccinated so that we can get out of this lockdown. Insofar as vaccine confusion, let me be very clear. Talk to your GP, get vaccinated. Talk to your GP and get vaccinated. It's that simple. I just wanted to say a few words on the Griffin report that is due this week. We know the Griffin report occurred after an outbreak of COVID that caused the last lockdown from the PA hospital. We know we've had breaches in hotel quarantine and in our hospitals over the last 12 months. What we want to see, and what I'm calling on the Health Minister to do, is to release the Griffin report and the results of that before the press conference on Friday, because Queenslanders deserve to know what happened that caused us to go into this lockdown in the first place. Queenslanders deserve to know what this government has done to make sure it doesn't happen again, and Queenslanders deserve to feel safe. Thank you. Look, I think the supply was there, and I'll reiterate again, it's pretty simple. Queenslanders want to get vaccinated. It's up to the state government to make sure that whatever vaccine is available is actually here in this state to get in the arms of Queenslanders right now. Thanks.
I just wanted to make one more comment that was remiss of me not to, and that is on the mental health anguish that businesses are experiencing at the moment. And I spoke with many of them yesterday, and I guess there's a message to all of them, and that is that there is help available, and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland, indeed the national body, is working with Beyond Blue, and if you find yourself in that situation, it's important to know that help is there. Over to you.
So you talked about the government should have more clarity over what is an essential worker. Yeah. If you were running the state, what would you classify as essential?
To actually define that clearly, what people can and can't open. And I understand that there will be, quite rightly, an onus on the individual. Of course there has to be. And there will always be grey areas. But at the moment, nobody's even tried to spell those out. And I think that's important that it is done. And overwhelmingly, if there is clarity and compensation, then you will have business and the individual rising to the cause. But when it's grey, when you have the health minister say, "Don't worry about the law," that's not a clarity or concise message that people need at the moment. So we're doing our bit to say to people, by all means, the individual needs to rise to the cause. But we would also like to see the government outline in a lot more detailed manner what is and isn't an essential worker, and what is and is a business that can stay open. That would be a good starting point. Well, that's a matter for the government, and we're urging them to come forward and provide the health advice that shows what should and shouldn't be open. But there's no point keeping it to yourself, and there's no point treating Queenslanders like mugs. Put the information forward, explain this is why this business should be open, this is why this one shouldn't, and then people will judge them on that information.